You know what day it is today. It's My Show Is On Today. Yes. Happy Thursday. Great day. And welcome to the review of the latest episode from Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Season 1, Episode 7, Cosine. Yeah, this is a good one. It has a lot of missteps, and we'll probably talk about that along the way here for this review. But this was still a pretty good show. Still a pretty good show. I would forgive them a lot of it, and I'll show you why later. So, this is Season 1, Episode 7, Cosine. During a school holiday, cadets return home and must choose between family expectations and dreams. Probably should have written "and their dreams." This episode features all the cadets, but mainly focuses on Genesis Life and Darren Remy, our favorite, I can't use that word. I don't think I can use that here. Our favorite cadet. So, they could have given Genesis and Darren their own episodes. I mean, this seemed to be put together a little squirrely, and they could have devoted a little bit more time to each of their stories. I'll use part 1 of this review to focus on each A story. Because, of course, we have A stories and a B story. But these kind of could have been A's for real on their own. So we're going to start with the cadets. It is now the spring semester. And, of course, it starts off with their version of spring break called All Worlds Day. So all of the cadets are going off campus to home or to vacation to, wind down and relax and prepare themselves for the beginning of the spring semester. Genesis here is going to go hang out with her father. Sam is going to a spa to kind of resolve the glitching, because at this time period, it's been 4 weeks since the events of the Miyazaki. So Sam, I love her hair, is still glitching. So she's going to go to a spa to kind of fix herself back up. And they still really need to explain to me how she was able to get hit by phaser fire and glitch. So y'all still need to come up with that, but we're going to let it go. I love this relationship between Genesis and Sam. They are true besties. They love each other, and they only want what's best for each other. Again, these two are so sweet, and I love their friendship. So, before Genesis gets to go off to where she needs to be, Chancellor Ake pulls her over and says, "Hey, I saw what you did last time. I saw what happened when we was having the issues with the Miyazaki. And you are it. You are that girl. So I'm going to nominate you to be on the captain track." Although that's not what Chancellor Ake wanted it called. It was really cute. It was really funny. And you see that, okay, I see you, girl. I know that you got it within you to be an excellent captain someday. So you know that this is a lot of work, and you're going to have to hit that ground running. And then, of course, even though Genesis is happy about the news, you can see that there's a little imposter syndrome starting to creep up. But no matter, she goes off. Meanwhile, Caleb is being dispatched to a host family to hang out for the holiday for the break. And he's not too happy about that because he really wanted to just stay behind, you know. He didn't really want to go off on anybody. And I was just surprised that Chancellor Ake didn't give him the option of going with one of his friends if she didn't want him to stay on campus, because it looked like every cadet was leaving campus. And of course she's leaving. So she's like, nah, I don't want you to stay here by yourself. And of course, Caleb is pretty much stewing because he hasn't contacted Terima. Terima is now back on Beta Z recuperating from the events on the Miyazaki. And she's out of the coma, but he has not talked to her in 4 weeks. Bad boyfriend. Bad boyfriend. Now, of course, you know, he's still freaked out about the fact that she saw into his innermost traumas last time when they were together. And that's really no excuse to at least not call her to say, hey, how are you? Are you okay? He's been talking through Occam. And while, you know, that's kind of cool and all, but no, he really needed to talk to Terima directly. Because I'm assuming that she's out of the coma now. But then I guess she thinks that he doesn't want to talk to her. You know, the teen misunderstanding thing in their relationship is really annoying now. They need to stop it. They need to just smarten up, knowing they want to be together, and just proceed from there. So, of course, okay, she's getting herself together. I seen on another review that they were put out of the show because, as you see here, Ake has a modern day, to us, suitcase with rollers that she stuffed a whole lot of crap in it that she probably doesn't need, including 4 pairs of boots when she doesn't even wear shoes. I thought this was kind of cute, but also people don't like modern sensibilities in Star Trek. This is supposed to be thousands of years in the future, but she's a Lanthanite. She's over 400 years old. Did you really think that she wouldn't have an old-fashioned suitcase with rollers? Yeah. So, Caleb manages to wear her down so that she would leave him behind so that she can go on vacation. And she says, listen, you will stay on campus. You have access to your rooms and to the eating areas. Don't go no place else. The rest of the campus is locked down to you. And Reno will be checking, because apparently Reno and Laura will stay behind to watch the store while everybody else is gone. So yeah. I said before that I would forgive all of the quibbles in the show, at least in regards to Caleb, because of this. Woof. Sandro Rasta. Looking good. Looking good, King. But the only thing about this scene that was really, you know, funny to me was that he dropped his clothes all through the hall. So I guess even the dots and the robots got time off. 'Cause, dude, what are you doing? Why are you being a mess in this place? Even though you're ostensibly in this place by yourself, which you aren't, but why you leave your stuff on the floor? Turns out he's not by himself, because guess what? Genesis decided to spin the block and come on back, not going to where she was supposed to be. And since he and Genesis are pretty much the only cadets there at the campus, they decided to get into a little shenaniganery. This might be a 3-parter. Come on back. Part 2. So, Caleb and Genesis are pretty much Ferris Buellering their way through campus, sticking their hands in things they shouldn't be sticking their hands in, and doing all kinds of other things. And People were so concerned that there was going to be some sort of love triangle between Caleb, Genesis, and Terima. I don't think that's the case here. I think the chemistry between these two is like sibling chemistry, brother and sister. There's no type of tension between Caleb and Genesis. Okay, and some folks would be like, well, why would they be hanging out together if there was no interest in them getting together? But see, Caleb's heart is with Terima. And Genesis knows that because she keeps pressing him about, okay, Terima seems to be doing all right on Beta Z. Have you talked to her? And of course, she chastises him a bit and be like, dude, you know you love her, that you have a connection, that's your anxiety, go talk to that girl. So Caleb now is getting a little bit suspicious now. He's trying to see, why are you here? Why didn't you go hang out with your dad and your peoples? Okay, and of course, this is where Genesis's imposter syndrome comes up in full force, because she's all like, I want to be my own person. I don't want to be in my dad's shadow. And since I'm going to be taking this captain track, I want to make sure that I'm doing it for the right reasons. So, in the midst of ducking Reno, as her and Laura have been doing something incredibly physical and getting hurt from it, and chasing after a warp slug, Genesis goes, all right, I need to get on the bridge. And of course, Caleb's rule breaker tendencies went into full alert. He's like, ooh, let's do it. Without thinking, okay, there may be a reason why she wants to do this. And let me tell you, the reason why I thought was really crazy. Because she goes in there, and they're playing with the controls on the bridge. And she is there to get a key so that she can hack into her files, her application files for Starfleet Academy. Now, I thought it was because she did some sort of fraud to get there. But that's crazy because she's the daughter of an admiral. So she really shouldn't have to do that. But then it turns out that she just wanted to change the recommendation letters. Because, of course, that imposter syndrome. So, yeah. And they should have known that they was going to get caught by Reno. Because while certain things have gone on under her nose, okay, someone accessing the bridge definitely did not get past her. And of course, she lets them know, oh, y'all are in the deepest of shit. Because they had to call Chancellor Ake back from her vacation to chastise them. And then to decide, well, since y'all want to play around, okay, since Genesis wanted to play around and then involved Caleb in her foolishness, okay, we're going to take you off that captain's track. Because, you're not ready. You're not ready yet. Because you're so concerned that a few words of recommendation was going to keep you from it when you are legit one of the smarter cadets here and got there on your own volition and your own hard work. But you know what? That's okay. So she's like, I'm not going to expel you. Which is what Genesis was expecting. She's like, nah. Y'all just going to have to do some menial labor. And it's really funny. I kind of like that the punishment thus far for these people have been menial labor. Because, you're in the future and you have dots and robots to clean up after you and to give you food and to take you places and to make your clothes. So, yeah. I do kind of like it. That people were saying that, okay, she doesn't punish them hard enough for me. I think menial labor, when you don't really have to do it, physically mopping the turbo lift, I think that that's punishment enough. And of course, enough hours of doing it. There's plenty to do. And then, of course, that also brings me back to that episode where the Dot was laughing at Caleb when he dropped something on the floor of Ake's quarters. Yeah. So, menial labor seems to be the good punishment, because nobody wants to do that. You have dots for that. We have robots for that. We have Roombas for this. But since y'all want to play around, y'all mop the turbo lift. So that's pretty much, the end of Genesis's part of the episode, because, I'm not moving in a linear fashion here. I wanted to put all of their stuff together because, honestly, they could have just did this in one episode, and we should have been able to meet Genesis's father. And to meet her people, because we don't know anything about the Dashar. All right, so now we move on to Darum Remy, our favorite Keonan. He's Keonan, bitch. So yeah, he apparently decides to stay behind. Okay, because there was no mention of him going home for spring break. And of course, all best plans are of course laid awry when he's going back to his quarters, and then, all of a sudden, there's a little gold rock that rolls down the hall. So now he sees Jaden at the end, with this shirt that Kyle had given him, his boyfriend had given him, because they're going to, everybody says Ibiza, but they're going to Ibiza. So, Darren picks up the rock, and then, woof, ambush. Okay, we see these two people just beam in, they grab him, they knock him out, and then they drag him to a portal. Now, the only person who saw this was Jaden. So he's all like, wait a minute, what the hell? All right, Remy is getting kidnapped. So he runs after, drops the shirt, Jaden runs after. But they have already gone through the portal by the time Jaden gets to it, and then against his better judgment, he decides to follow. So Jaden also goes through the portal to where Darum Remy ends up. And where is that? The sunset moon, orbiting Keona Prime. So yeah, we know that the Keonans are an aquatic people. And this is an aquatic planet. Okay? And this moon was a part of the aquatic planet and then somehow dried up. So this is where Darum and Jaden end up. Jaden, of course, is all like, wait, he's gotten kidnapped and then these people got him in this tent. So let me go roll over there and save my friend. Turns out, Darum was abducted for his bachelor party, for his upcoming wedding that originally was planned to be 5 years later, after he's done playing around in Starfleet Academy. And you know what? Somebody said on the review that the sunset moon looks just like Vulcan, and now I can't unsee it. Misstep number 2. All right, come on back for part 3. So, Jaden, all discombobulated now, because he's like, wait, you didn't tell us that you was about to get married? Okay. Darren was like, bitch, I didn't know I was about to get married. Because here's the thing about this. It's like, didn't Starfleet have security to figure out when there's like unapproved beam ins and beam outs? Why didn't Reno catch what happened? Okay. And you're suddenly missing 2 cadets that you hadn't logged in yet. Because remember, Jaden was supposed to be going to Kyle to be on the beach. So now it's really weird. And did they have to just come and snatch Darum off of the Athena like that? Off of campus like that? Couldn't they have just sent a message like, yo, you need to come home? There's some stuff going on that needs your attention. That was kind of weird. So, to cover for a Klingon ending up on their homeworld, or at least on the moon of their homeworld, Darum calls Jaden his cosign, which is Keonan for best person, best man. And Jaden was all like, I should have stayed on campus to go to the beach with my boyfriend. The hell? But he goes along because, of course, Darum, while he's pretty much resigned to, okay, I'm going to have to get married and become the ruler of my people, he's also glad that Jaden is there, because I would say that low-key, he's got a crush on Jaden, and he really likes having him around. And that pesky Kyle's not there. So, I'm sure that Darum hasn't quite admitted it to himself, but yeah, he wants to climb that Klingon tree. So, of course, now they're preparing for a wedding. And Jaden is like, okay, I guess. All right, we are introduced to Kyra, his fiance, the woman, the person he's been betrothed to since they were children. And, arranged marriage being what it is, he's not really mad at it because, again, they grew up together. He knows Kyra. Darum is pretty much cool with it. And then he finds out why that this marriage had to be uptracked real quick. Because her parents are the rulers of Keona, and her mother had a health scare. So they decided, you know what? We gonna just abdicate and let our daughter and her betrothed rule this planet now. Because we almost checked out of here, and I want to hang around to see grandchildren and things. So, yeah. And, Kyra was pretty cool. She was pretty cool until she saw the writing on the wall during the toast that Jaden gave to Darum. Now, they said that this was a wedding, and then they was going to have the bigger wedding on Keona Prime underwater. Because I think they could have wrote this a little differently. They could have said that this was just pretty much the precursor to the wedding. This could have just been the rehearsal dinner or the, since Star Trek seems to love to want to marry folks off against their will. Because listen here. This is what Keonas look like. Okay? They're aquatic people. They have gills. They're blue. They're in mostly water environments. So why on earth are they having all of these festivities on the moon and everybody? I fully expected the other Keonans to look like this. Okay? We know that Darum uses, I guess, his human form. I guess to relate to the other humanoids. And it's also probably because George Hawkins, the actor, he doesn't want to be in makeup and prosthetics all day and all night. But if Jaden's actor, Kareem Diane, can wear his little prosthetics and things, and if Laura Falk, Gina Yasheri, can wear hers, he should be able to do this. Okay? So that was another misstep that I noticed. And the biggest misstep of all, where was Darren's parents? I mean, if your son is royalty, they're royalty, and then he's marrying the princess of the realm, as it were, they should have been there. We should have at least been introduced to them. Because it looked like in the wedding scenes that there was only 8 people there. Okay? And we're going to assume that 2 of those people was Kyra's parents. So where was Darren's parents? Side note, these outfits was fire. Now, of course, people are crying because he's wearing what appears to be a bridesmaid dress. But he was wearing a skirt. And I'm sorry, we're in the future now. Y'all know that Jaden is not your typical Klingon, so he probably didn't mind wearing skirts. All right, he was wearing the same skirt that the cadets wore, that that Sam was wearing. Okay, so they shouldn't have had such a big deal about it. But this outfit was fire. Now, poor Jaden was freezing because it was made of wet scales and it's cold. And Klingons don't like cold. So, but it's still fly. And of course, Darren had this outfit on, which was really, really nice. He ended up ripping the back of it. And then once Jaden told him he was cold, he took the cloak off and put it on Jaden. But not before being shady, accusing him of cutting and running from his Klingon people, which was low. Darren, that was low. Because Jaden did not cut and run from his people. His parents left him on a planet that his brother died on. So that was messed up. So that's why I had to take a point off of Darren for that, because that was low. He didn't have to say that. And see, Jaden was real cool, because he's like, he called this man his friend. Okay. But that was still low. So of course, I'm going to assume that these 2 people behind Darren and Kyra are her parents, and then that's her cosign, her friend, her best person, standing there. So again, where was Darren's parents? And if Darren's parents was those other 2 people over there, why didn't they say something? Why didn't they let us know? Because part of Darren's story is the fact that he's trying so hard to please these 2 people who could give less of a damn if he's not doing exactly what they tell him to do. So, yeah. Kyra listens to the toast, and she sees that, you know what? I don't know that person that this cozyme is describing. And he looks like he would really rather go back and be with those other people than to be here. So you know what? I'm going to let you go. I mean, they already had the marriage ceremony, but you know what? You abdicate, stand down, I'll rule Kiona by myself. I'll be the first woman to do it. And that's awesome. She knew what was up. She saw what was going down. And I see now, part 4. So, now that Jaden and Darren are back on campus, okay, Darren thanks him, keeping him from making a pretty big mistake in his life, in his journey. And I think they hold each other in a little bit higher esteem, even though Darren, okay, now he knows, okay, Jaden sees me as a friend. Maybe it could be something more. But he's broken out of that reverie because Kyle, waving frantically at his boyfriend from across the way. And I thought it was really nice, that Kyle apparently did not hold Jaden's ditching of him against him. Because, of course, he runs up And of course, this is from before they left, but I couldn't find a picture of him with the return. And Kyle also had a nice sunburn from Ibiza. And of course, folks were screaming about that because they're sitting there thinking, why on earth would he come back looking like that? Couldn't you just fix that? Don't you have a pocket dermal regenerator? But what you don't understand is that folks need to feel the experience, okay? Because Kyle he's on a starship. He's on campus pretty much the majority of his time. So yes, the opportunity to go to a place that's not inside in space. And of course, that also means getting the experiences like the sunburn, the vacation sunburn. So yeah, they should have known about sunscreen by now. But again, things like that take people out of the show that's supposed to be futuristic. But I don't mind that because I thought it was cute. I was like, well, that's what happens on vacation. I mean, that's probably the first time he's been under a sun. So yeah, but Kyle is back, embraces Jaden, and he's like, man, you missed a good time. And he looks at Darum. Darum looks at him, and he's like, Darum. And he's like, Kyle. So yeah, Darum is jealous. Yes, he is. And I think that's the way he's choosing to play that. He's jealous. Because, yeah, he wants to be Jaden's boo. But all's well that ends well. And then there is a meteor shower that comes. And mostly everybody is back from their vacation. It probably was no more than 2 or 3 days, maybe 4, that all of this happened. So they all came back, and then, of course, we have the ending montage of all the cadets looking pensively at the meteor shower. And Caleb, all right, he finally decides to send Tarima a real message this time and to make sure that she gets it. So hopefully, in the next episode, Tarima should be back. Tarima and Occam should be back, and then we'll see, how they feel things out with each other. Because Tarima and Caleb are pretty much endgame. We all know that. So we just have to see where all the other cadets fall in. So yeah, and we know that Darum definitely wants a piece of Jaden. Showing this again because, yes. And you want to know the funniest thing is that Sandro Rasta, he had to come down off of his bulk for this role. So, if he looks like that after coming down, imagine what he looked like when they signed him up for this. So, yeah. It was a pretty good episode. I mean, like I said, it had its quibbles, it had its bobbles, it had its missteps. And I probably would not rank this as one of my favorite episodes. But this is kind of towards the bottom. This will be kind of towards the bottom of my ranking if I was to make one. And then I'll probably do a ranking when I do my thoughts on the whole season. Because I thought about, doing separate videos for that. But I can probably wait until the season's over. And then I can talk about my complete thoughts about this season of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. So, we needed a breather. We needed to come down because last episode, Come Let's Away, that one was high stakes and high anxiety. So it was good for us to have a little breather. But this episode could have been a lot tighter. Okay, because I didn't like the way it was put together. It wasn't put together real well. And again, Genesis should have had her own episode. And then we could revisit Darum in his own episode. Because again, there's just a lot of things that was probably left on the cutting room floor that they probably just needed to recut this episode properly for it to make more sense. Because I know you only have 10 episodes a season. And they're pretty much almost done with season 2. So hopefully they're learning as they go along about how to pace themselves and how to do things in a tighter fashion than it was here. And then for like simple things like the simple mistakes that they make, to like, have less of them. Okay? Because this is almost like the coffee cup on Game of Thrones, the Starbucks coffee cup in Game of Thrones. So y'all need to review these episodes before you let them out of post-production. And then maybe you won't have so many of these little missteps. Because I think this episode was cut different than the way it should have been. Simple things like that. Because, yeah, while I'm not going to down this whole series because of one episode, because I was like, this would be my least favorite episode of the season thus far. But I still love this show. I still love the characters. So we're not going to sit there and talk about, oh, well, this shouldn't have been renewed for season 2. I'm hoping that they renew for season 3. Okay? And get it in the can. And cut it well. Just cut it well. Because this one, I'll forgive y'all for this episode. Because it is. Yeah. Because I have no problem looking at Sandra Rosta. Yeah. So, great day. That was my thoughts on episode 7, Cosine. So, yeah. Live long and prosper.